Hi, I'm Donna Davis here with the one, the only Richard Cole, the founder of Cole's Wild Bird Products. He is here to answer your birding questions, and we have some exciting topics coming up today.
So we sure do. This will be fun. Yeah, we're going to talk about, since Halloween's just around the corner, we're going to talk about spooky birds.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. You know what you see in horror movies? There's always that scene where birds are flying.
Yes, and for some reason, some people are afraid of them. And
really?
There are certain birds that are considered more spooky than others.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about those. And it's that time of year where we're changing the seasons. So there's a lot of things that come in with that. It's the end of the bird breeding season. They're migrating south, and soon going to be cold.
Yes.
And so what should we do?
Things are changing at the feeder, and Richard will tell you what to expect.
And we're going to do a short history. We get a lot of questions about how did Coles get started, what's it about, and we're going to give a little short history of how Coles got started. So.
Yeah, such an exciting story. I love that. It's such a mom and pop family story. And then, of course, we're also going to recap our winners from the Coles calendar contest and tell you a little bit about entering your photographs for our next calendar. And we should have some big announcements coming up soon on that. But we also want to invite you, of course, like we do every week, to ask your questions because you have a chance to ask your questions of an expert. He knows all about wild birds and is waiting for your questions. So let's start off on a scary note.
Okay. Certain birds have become synonymous with scary things. Oh, there we go. Great picture. And Halloween and crows and ravens are probably right there at the top.
Absolutely.
And it's hard to identify which one's which unless you're familiar with them.
Yeah.
And I thought we'd talk just a moment about how do you tell the difference between a crow and a raven? What is the difference between a crow and a raven? You see in the movies about the raven. And a raven is typically a little larger than a crow. They're both crow-looking birds, but a raven's bigger and scruffier. There's a great picture. If you'll notice the bill on the bird on the right, you'll see that it's just exaggerated. It's much larger across the top of the bridge of the bill. And then around the neck, you get the feathers are more exaggerated. So I like to think they just look scruffy. And you'll see a lot of pictures where they look a little shaggy up around the face, whereas a crow generally is fairly smooth.
Yeah.
And with a smaller bill.
Look at that bill. So why did it develop like that? What kind of things do they eat that makes them have
probably
a
about the same thing like crows, but it may be, I don't know why it's like that. I'm sure some scientists do, but it may have something to do with vocalizations. It gives a little different resonance to it, but it's a massive bill. I'm sure they get into fruits and things that they could use that power for. But they're a neat looking bird. Now, how do you tell the difference? A lot of times just from where you are. If you're in lowlands in the central U.S., if you're in, say, where we are in Georgia, you're down out of the mountains, you're just not going to see a raven.
Yeah.
It won't happen. That's not where they are. In the east, you'll pick them up around the beginning of the Appalachian Mountains up in North Georgia, running all the way up the East Coast. In the central U.S., you won't see them very often. And over in the west, in the western states and the mountain areas, you'll pick up ravens again. And there's in the United States, there's two types of crows and two types of ravens. And one's just a little smaller than the other. There's Chihuahuan raven in the west. It's just a little bit smaller. The crows, you've got the American crow and you've got the fish crow. The fish crow is hard to tell from the American crow. It's just slightly smaller than American crow, but it does have a different call.
Really?
It sounds like an American crow with a cold.
Can you do that?
It's a little.
Can you do that call?
I won't even try.
Okay.
It's not as sharp as an American crow. It's just a little more nasal, and you will hear like kind of like a crow, but it's a little different.
Yeah.
And a little lower, and that's the only easy way to tell the difference in the two. I'm fortunate in the area I live here. We have mixed flocks of both. We get the American crow and the other, and I basically just listen, what's the call? Then I'll know whether it's the American crow or the other until I look up real close and maybe get a good idea of the size. I say that's probably not an American crow, it's too small. But there's a slight difference in the size. It's always interesting to listen to that call. And bird sounds in general, if you'll check out some of them, of your favorite birds, you can identify a lot of birds by their sound, but you can't tell them visually or you can't see them at all. It's called phrase birding by ear. You can go out and say, I know what that bird is because I hear it. I don't know where it is in a tree. But so check out bird sounds too. There's a lot of tapes that'll help you on phones now. Are amazing. You can just look up and get a call.
Really?
And sometimes you can record it and it'll tell you what it is.
And there's different sounds that crows make for different things, right? There's a specific sound or warning cry for a cat, for a hawk, for a person.
Same with blue jays. Which
Really?
is kind of in the same family.
Yeah.
Blue jays called a warning bird because they will make these calls that alerts everybody else about what's going on. And now crows, speaking of vocalizations, they, like parrots, have some ability to speak or emulate human words. They can be taught to make some sounds,
Really?
They're not as good as parrots. Somebody may argue with that. But they can make vocalizations that sound very much like our words. It's kind of nice. Some people like crows as pets.
Really?
Yeah, I don't have one, though.
I couldn't imagine wanting a crow as a pet. But I did read years ago, it's one of the most fascinating things that I ever read, and shows you how birds are really smart. This little girl would go, this happened in England, this little girl would go to school in the morning with her mother. She was always dropping her food, the snacks that the mother would give her and everything. And the crows kind of honed in on that. So rather than just wait for her to drop things, they would come out, wait for her to get in the car, and then she started to throw them things, right? They started bringing her things, like little shiny objects.
Little
like
shiny objects,
thank you. And she saved everything that the crows brought her. Isn't that amazing?
Wow, yes.
Yeah, they're so intelligent. And I've read that ravens are also really, really smart.
Yeah, they're in the same family. They're very closely related. So they're both very smart, intelligent birds. So spooky, though. Spooky. If you're going to have a spooky movie, you need to have a crow or a raven in there.
You almost always do. Or owls. Let's see the picture of the owls. They're so cute. I think we've got a picture that shows different types of owls.
Yeah.
But mainly just wanted to talk about owls for a minute. Look at that gaze. They're always in something spooky. And any thoughts about why we see them? Maybe because they're predators?
Maybe they're nighttime birds, and I think people see them at night, and maybe they swoop down at you at night, and it scares you. You get these strange calls, like the screech owl has a whinny, it sounds like a horse, really. It doesn't screech, it's just a whee. And the other owls have the hoots, or the more call-like calls.
Yeah.
And they're nighttime birds, so maybe that's the spooky part of them.
Yeah.
And they look strange.
They are cute, though.
And a barn owl has that certain monkey-type looking face.
Yeah.
And it looks...
a little creepy face.
It does look a little creepy. So I'll give the barn owl the Creepy of the Year award for spooky birds.
Yeah. But it's always fun. Oh, okay, so let's talk about this time of year right now. You have mentioned, and I have noticed it since Richard mentioned it, spiders are everywhere. And so the spiders are everywhere, and that gives the birds plenty of things to eat, right?
This is a time of plenty for the birds. I call it fall slowdown because when I'm talking to people about their bird feeding and their bird seed, and they say they won't eat this stuff, I say, well, it's the wrong time of year. And it's because the birds have so much natural food available out there. And on top of that, they've got other things to do. They just finished up breeding. A lot of them are moving south for the winter down to Central America. And the ones that are here have plenty to eat. And spiders is a great example because there's a lot of them out there. There's a lot of other insects out there. Most all the insects haven't been killed off by freezes yet. So they are there. And there's fruits. And there's berries. Things like poison ivy. There's a lot of that around, and they eat the berries, and they're fine with that. And there's a lot of other berries that they eat. So everything's ripe for these guys, and they don't need to come to your feeders near as much. I'm at a point now, I've got several feeders on my back deck, and usually there's birds on every one of them all day, all the time. And now I'll look out there, I may go an hour and not see a single bird.
Really?
I won't even see one fly by, because they've got other things to do and other places to eat. They'll be back.
Wow.
So don't be discouraged if you put out a feeder, especially a new one, this time of year. Give it some time. We get down and it gets a little colder, food becomes a little more scarce, they'll hit the feeder. And they'll have to have time to find a new feeder also.
And those big spiders, they've got to be such a juicy treat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can't compete with that.
Oh, who wouldn't want a big juicy spider?
And they're right there for the birds to get, right? Oh, yeah, that's awesome. Oh, that's so cute. But they've got their web going from one tree to the next, and the bird just swoops in and gets a snack.
Yeah.
So it's always fun to watch.
Yes, so that's why you won't see as many birds this time of year. They're out there, they just don't need to come to your feeder.
Right.
They've got other great things to eat.
But we could have a cold snap anytime, so now is a great time to go out and get stocked up on some great winter food. So speaking of that, let's talk about how you started Cole's Wild Bird Products.
Oh, so long ago.
Was it?
So long ago. Yes, it was.
When was it? When did you get started?
Oh, gee, it was really the mid-'80s.
Yeah?
And Nancy, my wife, and I started getting into feeding the birds. And it was interesting. We were in an apartment on the second floor. So we had a feeder out there, and it was just a solid patio underneath. So every day I'd come home, and the same stuff would be gone out of the feeder, and the other stuff would be on the floor. And I'd see it. It's like, wait a minute. They're not eating this stuff. So I'd put out a pan, put stuff in and watch. And the same stuff would be missing each day. The same stuff would be left. I said, well, that's not right. Why don't they eat this bird seed? And after doing some studying, I found out that, well, bird seed's a name for seed birds like, but they call any seed bird seed. But birds have preferences, strong preferences for what they'll eat. In general, little small round seeds and reddish seeds you see in a lot of bird seeds are not really liked by a lot of birds. Other birds do. Doves and grackles and things that eat on the ground really like millet and milo and things on the ground. That's fine. Up in a feeder, most birds that feed up off the ground were looking for something like sunflower meats, which more emulates what they would find up in a tree area, nuts and berries and things and insects. Sunflower meats is probably the #1 bird feed because it's soft, it's nutritious, there's no shell. So things like wrens who can't crack shells can eat sun meats. But you get away from sun meats, you got sunflower seed, and a lot of birds love sunflower seed. And then you get the millet and milo. Milo, some western birds like it. It's not taken very much by eastern birds. Millet, a little bitty round cream-colored seeds. A lot of birds like that. Some of the birds that come up to feeders will eat it. They're at the feeder. But a lot of it gets chucked to the ground. And
so you just started observing this, and then you started, and then you researched, and then you started to go out and buy the things that the birds like best, right?
I did, and it was like you said. I looked and said, they don't eat this. Well, what's it doing in the bag? Yeah. So I started putting what they like to eat out there, and did samples of what in different trays to see what they would really take. And for the most part, sunflower meats was #1 always. Sunflower seed. And then you have some other specialty seeds like safflower and things that cardinals and some other birds really like. But other things like squirrels and things don't care for it as much. Blackbirds don't care for it much. Oh my goodness, that's an old picture.
Yeah, and let's talk about it because you really kind of changed, like you're on the front cover of Birding Business.
Yes.
You've got those sacks, right, of birdseed right there, and you were just boxing them up from your house, right?
That was in the house. We started doing the bird seed because somebody saw that we had a lot of birds. I was mixing my own because I didn't like what I was buying, and somebody saw it and they said they wanted some, and so I gave them some, and we just, as a joke, started packaging it up in our Sunday newspaper bags.
Yeah.
They were a little bit bigger bags, so we'd package it up and twist tie it and put a fake label on it and sell it to neighbors and stuff.
That's awesome.
And that went on for a little while, and it just got more and more serious, and because more and more people wanted it. And it just grew up as a family business, grew up in a bedroom. That's an old back bedroom, a little third bedroom we were using in a small house.
Yeah.
And then it got more serious where cases were going out the door. And it just...
And you got the whole family involved, right?
It's, and it's, we'll see, Nancy's in the middle.
Nancy wasn't in the middle.
No, that's okay. Nancy's in the middle, and so me and her got this thing started. My daughter Elaine, to the right of Nancy there, is the president of Kohl's, and she does a great job running the operation now. Her husband is behind Tony, and there's Richard standing in the back. My son Michael, looking much taller than me, is on my left. And he's has a PhD in chemistry. He works out in California. And so we don't get to see him as much as we'd like to, but he gets in here a few times a year.
Yeah.
And there's a granddaughter and grandson. And,
But everybody, it's a true family business.
It is a family
and
business. We
the
all chip in.
part that I love the most about the whole story is that you started seeing how successful this was.
Yeah.
And didn't you go out and try to get stores to carry it? And they were like, no. And then you tried to get your own stores, and the people at the bank were like, are you kidding me? Right? That you think you can sell bird seed and have a specialty store? And now, wow.
Yeah, it was trying to get bird seed into a store, because stores, if you have a product and you come with something new, you go to a store, they've seen it a million times. A million people come to the door and say, oh, you've got to sell this. This is great. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. So your chance of getting in the stores is very small. You've got to show them something. We got into some small stores at the beginning, and that was good. We couldn't go fast. We were making this in a back bedroom, and then the garage. And it just got slowly but surely over the years to just grow bigger and bigger and bigger. And the word of mouth started getting around, and so more and more stores started picking it up. Along the way, we decided we wanted to drop the corporate world and go out on our own. I think everybody has a dream like that.
Yeah.
And we decided to open a bird store with things like the feeders and other things like bird baths and identification books and, of course, our bird seed.
Yeah.
And because we could sell more of it than anybody else could, because we knew what it was about. And it took a few years of planning and all, and trying to get money to open a store was hilarious, because, as you said, we went to a bank and we said, we want to open a store, sell bird seed. And they just look at you with this blank stare, like, yeah, right. Yeah,
I remember you telling me that story, and I thought, how brave and how, just absolutely courageous was that, that, they were looking at you like, and I think you said that somebody said, there's no way that people are going to, go in a specialty store and buy bird seed. And now look at today.
Yes. And we got one store started, and it was successful. And then we opened another one. We ended up doing 5 stores. And now we have retired from that business, and our employees bought us out. And so they're happily owning the bird stores, and we're totally dedicated to the bird seed business. And it's grown and grown and grown over the years. It's a national product now. It can be found in many places.
And you've got competition now too, which is, you really influence the entire industry. No, it's a good thing. It
is a good thing, and it's
shown that everybody else has seen there's a market for this.
When you see your product kind of get copied, even the names are very similar, because we have really weird little names sometimes, like Special Feeder. It came about by some reason, but now you have other people saying special seed and special this, and they kind of copy the blend. It's irritating, but it's also kind of nice to see that they're copying you.
It's the purest form of flattery, you know that. So Marilyn Diaz, go ahead.
No matter what we've always done is make the absolute best bird seed we could, because I didn't want the junk I just wanted what the birds would actually eat. I wanted the freshest seed, no junk, no filler, no chemicals. Believe it or not, some bird seeds out there have a lot of chemicals in it. They've been busted for it, sort of. Other thing they put in there's some bird seeds out there that have what I call rocks. You're paying for some rocks. They call it calcium carbonate, a mineral. I know, I'm sorry. It's pigeon grit if you want, but it's just extra weight in the bag. It's cheap. We don't do things like that. We just have pure, nice seed, generally food quality kind of stuff. So ours should look better. It'll certainly perform better than anybody else's. And we're just not going to cheat along the way. We're going to give you the very best bird seed we can for your birds, because that's what I feed my birds.
Right. Yeah. And it's influenced the whole market, though. And I do think, that it shows that other competitors came along with their own bird shops, and some sold coals, too. But they realized there is a market and that people will pay for, and that they'll not only go in the store for the expertise, but they will pay a premium price for good bird seed. It's huge. It's a lot to be proud of.
It makes sense to spend a little bit more for the product that's going to do the job the best for you. If you're there trying to attract the birds, and they're throwing out half your seed, it doesn't make any sense economically or trying to attract birds.
Right. So. I wanted to read you a comment from Marilyn Diaz. Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you for providing the best bird feed. The backyard birds love it, and they are healthy. And that is such a great compliment. Good for you.
Well, thank you so much, because you guys are what has made this company possible and has kept us in business for a long time now.
Right.
Boy, the years
Yeah.
rolling by. So we appreciate all of our customers and all the loyal customers, and we do our best to give y'all the best product, and we're glad you appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of appreciation for it. And we also do want to go back over, we want to show you the first, second, and third place prize winners from our Kohl's calendar contest. So let's see those now. So this is first
Oh,
place,
yeah.
Kenny Faye for this Eastern Bluebird. Oh, gorgeous, right?
Yes.
I love, and this is a great time to remind all of you that, we need more winter photos. This is a great example of it, when it gets cold and it's snowing outside, you might think, oh, I want to stay in, but these are great times to go out and get these beautiful winter photos. I love, like, the berries and the contrasting colors. So pretty. So this is first place. This is second place. This is Jay Potlock. And for the red-headed woodpecker, I love how it's, it looks like it's almost iridescent.
Yeah.
Aren't those colors beautiful?
Now, here's a question for you. Is that a male or a female?
Well, I would guess a male with bright colors
You can't
like
tell.
that.
No,
It's so vibrant.
both male and female are identical. In
Oh,
that woodpecker.
really?
Yeah.
You
So
stumped
don't know
me.
which one's
It's a
which.
trick
Yeah.
question there.
Yeah, it was
Why
a
is
trick question.
that? That
Yeah.
the woodpeckers, the females
Most of the other
are bright
woodpeckers
too.
have some distinguishing characteristics, like the red only goes part of the way
Yeah.
up the back, or the full head's red, or just part of it. But in the red-headed woodpecker, they're both identical. Kind of
That's
like a blue jay, you
amazing.
can't tell male from female.
Yeah.
So-
That's a trick question for me.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so let's see the third place prize winner. Look at that.
Yeah.
Just embodies the summertime. And it's Renee Stuckey. And what a beautiful picture of a ruby-throated hummingbird. So we love to see these pictures of them eating Kohl's products. We also just love to see them out in nature. And these are great pictures. And all of
Yes.
you are the ones who voted. And we want to thank you for participating, for voting, and whatever you did to take part in the calendar contest,
And
right?
I can't wait to get this calendar out there, 'cause I want
I
my
know.
copy
I
on the
know.
wall. Yeah, they're beautiful birds this year. Every year we get really nice entries, great pictures, but the calendars are just, I'm very proud of those calendars. They're nice, and it's because all you have sent in great pictures to us.
It really is. The calendars are so much fun. And you know what? In today's world where everything is digital, I love having my actual physical calendar that I can write on it and remind me to do things. Otherwise, I'll forget. So it's a great thing. And we also want to, today, does anybody have any questions? Do you want to, Richard's here every first Wednesday of the month at 3 o'clock to answer your questions. So we do want to see if you guys have any comments or questions, want to let us know where you're watching. Give it a second, see if anybody has any questions. Well, with that,
They'll come in later.
okay, yeah. With that, we will leave you, and we'll leave you with another video to show you all the semifinalist pictures. They are absolutely beautiful. These are all our semifinalists. We are going to be, looking at all these pictures and deciding which pictures are going to go into the catalog, into the calendar. I'm so sorry. So stay tuned. We will have that for you coming up. Any parting words?
It's that time of year. Expect the birds to be a little less frequent visitors at your feeder. It's okay, but keep your feeders clean, keep the bird food dry, and make sure you've cleaned out all your bird houses, get them ready for the next breeding season.
Sounds perfect. We'll see you again next month.
Yeah. Hello, this is Richard Cole. I want to thank each of you for watching, and I want you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to share it.